Let's just dive right into this explainer. We're looking at a classic piece of folklore today called Three Wishes Fulfilled, the Paratha Predicament. It's an enchanting little story about a woodcutter, a crying fairy, and a seemingly simple magical reward that, well, goes hilariously wrong. But as we break down the narrative, you're going to see that it actually holds a surprisingly sharp mirror up to human nature and, honestly, our total lack of everyday mindfulness. But before we jump right into the story itself, take a second to imagine the ultimate fantasy. What would you do with three guaranteed wishes? I mean, really think about it. Unlimited wealth? Perfect health? A giant mansion? We all like to think that if we were handed the ultimate cheat code to reality, we'd use it brilliantly, right? Well, as it turns out, human nature is pretty easily distracted. 3. Keep that magical number in your head. Because the way our protagonist today squanders his golden opportunity is an absolute masterpiece of accidental self-sabotage. Three chances to change his destiny forever, and you are literally not going to believe how quickly they vanish. Okay, let's set the scene. Section 1, a magical forest encounter, the crying tree. So, our story begins in a quiet forest on a completely mundane day. A humble woodcutter is just going about his daily labor, right? He finds a tree, raises his axe, and is about to chop it down to collect wood for his livelihood. But suddenly, the ordinary is totally interrupted by the extraordinary. He hears a fairy pleading for her home, saying, "Please don't cut down the tree. In return, I will grant you three wishes." I mean, wow. The woodcutter is offered the ultimate life-changing deal in exchange for just a simple act of mercy. Obviously, he agrees, spares the tree, and walks away with the power to literally rewrite his life. So he hurries home, completely buzzing with this incredible news, and he tells his wife everything that just happened. She praises his good deed, totally recognizing this massive stroke of luck, and she says, "You did the right thing by not cutting down the tree. Come, eat it now." Basically, she simply calls him to sit down for a humble dinner of cooked paisi, which is a traditional sweet dish. So there they are, eating dinner, literally sitting on a gold mine, just waiting to plan out their glorious future. Which brings us to our next phase, Section 2, the accidental first wish, a craving gone wrong. Now here is where the majestic, high-stakes magical setup crashes headfirst into mundane, everyday reality. Sitting at the dinner table, the woodcutter completely fails to grasp the sheer gravity of his new reality. He simply expresses a casual craving out loud. He looks at his sweet dinner and casually mutters, "Oh, if only there were hot parathas with pamir, how nice it would be." Parathas, for those who don't know, being a delicious, savory flatbread. It's the exact kind of harmless passing thought we all have every single day when we open the fridge. But, and this is the kicker, when you possess literal magic, there are no passing thoughts. Instantly, a plate full of hot, fresh parathas appears right before him. To his absolute joy, but entirely by accident, the first of his precious, life-altering wishes is spent on a side dish for dinner. Yep, 1/3 of his limitless potential just gone in a breath. Section 3. A wish made in anger. The wife's scolding. As you can probably guess, the domestic bliss of a fresh hot dinner doesn't last very long. His wife is deeply upset. And look, you kind of have to admit, she is completely right here. She logically points out, don't waste your wishes by asking for whatever you want. You have to think and ask for our progress. She is seeing the big picture, wealth, security, a better life, while he's staring at flatbread. So understandably, she begins to scold him heavily for his foolishness. And right here is where our protagonist goes from being merely careless to actively destructive. Annoyed by her nagging and what he considers her unwanted knowledge, the woodcutter just snaps. He fires back with a completely impulsive and ridiculous retort saying, "It would be better if a parota was hanging from my wife's nose." It's a classic, petty, angry lash-out. And just like that, the tragic comedy absolutely peaks as the magic takes his frustrated words completely literally once again. Immediately, a parota hung from his wife's nose. That's 2 wishes down. Not only have they not progressed at all, they have actively ruined their current situation. His wife literally has a flatbread magically fused to her face. You couldn't make this up. Moving on to Section 4, the final reversal. Fixing the mess. So his wife, understandably, starts roaring in anger. Backed into a corner of his own making, sheer panic sets in. The woodcutter suddenly realizes the absolute horrifying absurdity of the mess he has just created through his own lack of discipline. In a desperate attempt to fix his wife's face and just restore some peace to his home, He uses his third and final wish. He says, "Perotas are the root of all the trouble. I don't want a single perota. Let the perotas go away from here." He uses the very last drop of his reality-bending power just to make the cursed food disappear entirely. And poof, they vanish. This brilliantly illustrates the tragic, yet honestly hilarious life cycle of the three wishes. Step 1, he accidentally wishes for parathas for dinner. Step 2, in anger, he wishes a paratha onto his wife's nose. Step 3, he has to wish the parathas to disappear. He burned through all of his magical capital, wealth, power, security, the whole shebang, just to end up exactly where they started. Actually, scratch that. They are arguably worse off because now they don't even get to eat the parathas he originally craved in the first place. Which brings us to Section 5, the moral. Speak thoughtfully, words have power. Let's pivot away from the fairy tale magic for a second to look at the very real human flaw at the center of this fable. The core issue here is impulsive speech. Just like the woodcutter, blurting out our immediate cravings or lashing out in petty anger actively prevents meaningful progress and creates unnecessary chaos in our lives. On the flip side, thoughtful speech is the ability to pause, consider our goals, seek progress, and maintain peace. The woodcutter possessed the ultimate power, but because he lacked the basic discipline of thoughtful speech, that power was entirely useless to him. So here's what I want you to think about. We might not have forest fairies granting us wishes, but our words absolutely do shape our reality. How often do we let words slip out in daily conversation, whether out of hunger, frustration, or just sheer carelessness, that we cannot easily take back once they're spoken? Are you treating your words with the care and mindfulness they truly deserve? Because every single word you speak is setting a reality into motion. Thanks so much for exploring this fascinating little explainer with me, and I hope it helps you choose your words just a little more carefully today.